Hi everyone, so it's the beginning of November and I've come over to Chris' house to have a look at his Dahlias and Cannas, just to talk briefly about how they've been for him this year and to show a little bit of practical about overwintering. Yeah?
Yep.
Cool. So how's it been for you in terms of your Dahlias and your Cannas this year?
I mean, as we all know, the summer took so long to get started. It was a really cool spring, which was annoying because it was quite a mild winter.
Yeah, it was.
But nothing seemed to warm up until about, I don't know, late June, early July. So it was really frustrating. It took everything an absolute age to get going.
Yeah.
But when it did, it was all right. It's been okay. There's a lot of things that haven't flowered, that are trying to flower now, but it's just too late in the season. I mean, you can see that Dahlia there has done really well. But that was one from the, a garden. That was a garden centre buy that's obviously been brought on in a poly tunnel.
Is it normal for them to be in flower at this time of year, or is it because we are mild, aren't we? Like
it's been a really mild autumn
so far, isn't it?
We're into November now, and it's I think we had one light frost maybe 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's still in the double
You
figures.
normally coincide, because the clocks went back last weekend, and you normally coincide in your head, right? Clocks go back. It's going to be really cold. But it's not. I'm still doing t-shirt and we're fine, aren't we?
Yeah, they've given highs of 15 next week as well.
Yeah,
so
it is. Yeah,
really...
I said to my wife this morning that it looks like it's no rain. It looks like it's overcast, but 14, 15 all week, which is going to be into the middle of November.
There's a lot less light now, so things are slowing down. But until there's a frost, it won't blacken the foliage or anything like that. I mean, these have seen better days, but these are the ones of the rhizomes that I brought on this year myself. These weren't ones that I bought.
Yeah.
So like I say, they're a lot slower than what these ones are. But this is the whole point of the video. And that next year, although we're down on the southeast coast, which is the warmest part of the UK, or one of the warmest parts of the UK, I am going to be lifting all the Dahlias and the Cannas this year, and bringing them in. Two reasons why: because we're showing the gardens now, it's going to make sense to bring them on earlier in the year.
Yeah.
So you get those flowering periods, probably like September time.
Yeah.
And I lost, although it was a mild winter, there were Dahlias that didn't come up that I'd left out in the ground previous year. Now, it was a soggy winter, soaking wet, but we're on chalk, so it's really, really free draining.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was the moisture content. They're not sitting in water.
Yeah.
It wasn't freezing ground. But I've lost them. So I think, this year I'm going to lift everything I've got and bring it in and protect it that way round.
Yeah.
And like I say, to help me bring them on next year as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Ready for the open gardens.
It'll be interesting to see what happens next year, then, won't it? In terms of the difference.
I don't know why they didn't come back this year. I don't know whether it's because the frogs, the slugs and the snails were getting to them before they were getting a chance to get big, or whether they've just rotted out. I don't know, but I'm definitely going to bring them all in.
Mine did the same. So my Dahlias, because do you remember the Dahlias that we planted last year?
You put a shovel through all yours because you
not all of them. No, not all of them. I mean, how many Dahlias did we put out in my garden last year?
It was a good 8 or 10, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was loads. Yeah. And not a single one come back. No, one came back, which I didn't even realise was there. So maybe that hadn't even come out from the previous year. I've got no idea. Anyway, mine a complete failure. But yeah, I put a fork through most of mine, to be fair. But, yeah, it is what it is. So we're going to do a little bit of a practical.
Yeah, we'll do a practical. I'm going to use this one as an example because it's the one that's looking most sorry for itself.
Yeah.
Ideally, you'd let the frost knock these back, but I'll use this as an example.
Yeah.
So yeah, the frost will blacken the foliage. Once the foliage has started to die back, you're good to lift them. This is a little bit early still, like I say, but we're using it as an example. So when you lift them up, this will all be soggy, black and dying back foliage.
Yeah.
But what you want to see is when you remove the soil, I'll bring this closer to the camera shortly, is some really, really healthy, solid...
There's a worm in there.
There's all sorts in there. Rhizomes like this, and this is what you want your Dahlias to look like. Let's bring that closer to the camera.
Yeah.
And that's what you want your Dahlias to look like. So once the frost has got to the foliage, cut it off here, give it a few inches to die back, wash all the soil off, a bit like the ensetes and the colocasias. Wash all the soil off, so it's literally just your rhizomes. Let that dry out somewhere cool, not too hot, and don't dry it too quick, because they'll end up again rotting or drying out too fast, and the moisture content will disappear too fast. So yeah, garage, windowsill or something like that. For a
shed.
Shed, perfect. Yeah. A good couple of weeks.
So similar to the ensetes then.
Yeah, really similar. Yeah, really similar. And once they've dried out, they can then be stored in a paper bag. I'd always put sulphur powder on mine. It stops the rot and the fungus taking over.
Right. Okay.
Before you do, check. Give them a little squeeze. If there's any soggy ones, cut them out.
Yeah.
And they need to be almost like potato.
Yeah. Very similar, aren't they?
So that's one way of doing dahlias. The other way is what I'm going to do is pop that up into just fresh compost. I'll let this foliage die back in the conservatory or the greenhouse.
Yeah.
And once that's died back, cut it off, same as what you would if you're going to dry store them.
Yeah.
And just put the pot to one side and just forget about it for the winter.
Inside.
In a shed or in a conservatory,
Right.
wherever you're storing them. But you don't need to water them, they'll literally go dormant.
Yeah. And then, so next year, what sort of period of time, what are we looking at when the frosts have finished, or in terms of putting them back in the ground?
When it gets to about 12 to 15 degrees and the plants are starting to wake
sort
up.
of consistently,
But you'll see, if you keep an eye on them from about March time, you'll see fresh foliage coming up from the rhizomes, and that's when you're good to go.
So looking at probably on average kind of like middle of May time, maybe getting them out again into the ground potentially.
When they go out in the ground, you need it to be probably about a plant this sort of size, like you buy in a garden centre, a 2 litre pot.
Yeah.
Keeps them a little bit safer from the pests as well.
Yeah.
Slugs and snails.
While they're establishing again.
Yeah, just let them get big and healthy before they do go out. And then, you're good to go. Good to
oh, right, cool. So people do leave them, don't they, in all winter in the ground?
Yep.
And they do get success with it. What would be the difference in terms of, why would some people have success and others not in terms of leaving them?
Like I say, it all depends on moisture in the ground, whether they're sitting in water, i.e. they're waterlogged, whether the ground's frozen, and some of it's just pot luck.
Yeah.
They can be eaten by pests through the winter as well, feeding on them.
Squirrels dig them, don't they?
Yeah, squirrels. Yeah. Excuse me. But
the safest way of keeping your dahlias
is to lift them and bring them in. In my experience, that's what I'm going to be doing. And like I say, we're in a mild part of the UK. Yeah. And even so, they'll still be coming in.
Yeah.
You can leave them out. Like I said, the other ones, they were left out last year. They were mulched as well. Because if that's the option, if you're going to leave them out, they do need a good mulch. Yeah. But again, I still lost mine, so I'm just not going to chance.
Can you imagine at somewhere like Wisley, do they actually lift all of those thousands of dahlias, or do they leave them in?
I imagine it's probably a bit of both.
Yeah. But it just interests me that is a colossal amount of work. Obviously, that's that's Wisley, but people in the mid-sized garden that love their dahlias have got a lot of work on their hands to do that, haven't they? Yeah. So, like you say, maybe it's a bit of both that they are doing. Yeah. We always say we're complete amateurs, or I'm a complete amateur. Chris has been more experienced than me, but it's just interesting for me to know, on that scale of like lifting and storing and doing the whole process.
If you haven't got the room, if you haven't got the room, then there is always that option, and it is a success.
Yeah.
There's half of my dahlias that I left out did come back, but half didn't, and I don't know why, because like I said, the winter was pretty much perfect.
I suppose it's all, like with everything, it's trial and error as well, isn't it? And see what happens in your own garden. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we're going to head up and have a look at the cannas?
Yeah, have a look at the cannas,
All right, wicked. Right, so we're up in the jungle now, and we're going to talk cannas. So, success, failure, similar to dahlias?
Yeah, similar to dahlias. Same story this year. Some are flowered, some haven't. Some sized up, some didn't. So yeah, it's a mixed bag again, really. But it's not been a great year all in all. But yeah, overwintering, same sort of thing as the dahlias. Once the first frost has come and knocked the foliage, that's the time to lift them up. But again, we'll use this one as an example for the video. So imagine this is frosted back. You get in around the root ball. Give yourself a good 4 to 6 inches around the root ball, so you don't end up slicing through a rhizome, because you want as much of it as you can.
Is this all one, or is this? I
think
is that from a pup?
Sprouted off from another rhizome. Actually, there was one plant.
Is it pup? Is that the right terminology?
I suppose so. Yeah. Oh, you would do. I was going to cut the foliage back anyway, so joke's on you. Right, let's see what we got. Okay, we'll have to use this little one as an example. Ideally, you'd get the clump. But that's the world's smallest rhizome, but it's It's okay. I don't know if we can use this or not. We'll go with it anyway. Yeah, so this would be blackened off by the frost. Cut the foliage off here. I can't use that. Right, let's see what else we got. Bear with.
It's lucky we're not on YouTube live yet, isn't it?
Isn't it just? Oh, here we go. This might be better. Oh, it's just poor. It's just poor. Right, canna rhizome, sort of.
Oh, it's my coffee.
This is absolute disaster. Right,
There it
a
is.
better rhizome. So you can either cut this off here now, pot on, or I can't do this. Staring at a hole in the ground.
Right, so we've headed up to the jungle, and we're going to use some of the smaller examples because obviously we don't want to dig one of the bigger, more established ones.
Prize canna.
The prize cannas just yet. So we've got some smaller ones which Chris dug up for us already.
Right, they're pretty small, but I think they'll do. So there's your rhizome there. So like I say, once this has been hit by the frost and it's blackened, you can cut this off here. Again, give it 3 or 4 inches just to rot back into the rhizome, otherwise you're going to end up getting root rot.
Yeah.
But you can clean all the soil off again, let that dry on a windowsill, exactly the same as the Dahlia rhizomes, and store it, sulphur powder again, and store it in somewhere cool and dry. Not too dry. Shed is perfect, absolutely perfect. The other option is, again, is to pop that into soil, remove the foliage again, and put to one side.
Right, okay. So basically exactly the same.
Exactly the same as the Dahlia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then same sort of time again next year, exactly the same process.
Yeah, they normally come out at the same sort of time, if they're in the same sort of environment, yeah. So yeah, pretty simple really. And
that obviously there's different sizes and varieties of canna, and
yeah, I mean that's quite a small rhizome. They're normally quite a bit bigger than that, but it is only a small plant.
Yeah. But as an example, that is
example of how pants the cannas have done this year.
You're not happy, are you?
No. Not at all. But it is what it is. You get years like that sometimes. But like I say, that's why we're removing them this year and bringing them on early next year.
Yeah, and hope for a bit more success next year.
Yeah, exactly that.
Awesome. Right, so that is an example of how to overwinter.
A bad example. An example anyway.
An example of canna and obviously the Dahlias. Hope you've had some success this year with yours. If you have, feel free to comment and let us know how you've got on with yours, or share some pictures with us. And then onwards to getting all the leaves out of the ground, both here. I was going to say mine, but I've only got one.
You've got one, yeah. Yeah, there's a few more.
So
to
I've
get
got
up.
some serious work to do this afternoon. And yeah, if you've got yours to do, then great. Enjoy doing that, and we'll see how they get on next year. We've got next week. We've got another. I'm going to be doing my bulbs this week, 100%. I've got a bit more time on my hands this week, so we've got a bulb planting extravaganza in my garden this week coming, which Chris can help me with, aren't you? Because you love your cottage gardening.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we hope to see you all again very soon. And please hit subscribe and like for us. We really do appreciate your support. So cheers, and we'll see you soon.
See ya.